Yeah, oh, it's so good to see you all. Little bit scary. We've done quite a few Zoom meetings, like I'm sure all of you had, but not quite as large as this. It is really good to see you guys, and yeah, just thank you for joining us this evening.
Hey, Marcia.
Marcia, where?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi.
Marcia.
It's actual work.
Well,
So,
good evening, everybody. My name's Danny. I know quite a few of you, but I don't know all of you. I've had the dubious privilege of knowing Bruce since he was about 6 years old. And I've known Louise, which obviously has been a much greater privilege, since she was, probably about 11 or 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
We were all part of the same youth group in Leicester at a church called FLAB, or Friar Lane and Bournemouth Baptist Church. So it's absolutely wonderful to welcome you here this evening. Bruce and Lou have asked me to just sort of be the compere for this evening. So I'm going to be a bit less Jeremy Paxman and a bit more, I don't know, Russell Harty, who knows. But anyway, if anyone remembers him. So it's really good.
Showing your age there, Danny.
Yeah, I am, aren't I? Give it, well, same as you, mate. Same as you.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm slightly older than you and wiser, obviously. Anyway, so the idea for this evening is we're going to have about half an hour or so, give or take, hearing obviously from Bruce and Louise about what lockdown is like in South Africa, and particularly how it's affecting their life and their ministry. And I'm also delighted that we've got a couple of guests as well. Mina, who's the CEO of Beautiful Gate, where Louise works, and also
Sit up a bit.
Hold on a minute, guys.
Yes.
Danny, can we just ask everybody to turn their mics off?
Yes, could you mute your mic?
Yeah, because there's background noise that's interfering. So if everyone could turn their mics off, that would be really helpful.
How do you do that?
You probably have that power as well. Bruce, you can probably mute everybody.
Mute.
Can I? I can mute all, but I don't want to mute you though, do I?
I can unmute.
You can unmute yourself.
There we go. I'm back.
People unmute them.
So what power that to be the only unmuted one. So yeah, I hope you got all of that. And it's going to be, so we're going to have half an hour or so of some questions, questions answered with Bruce and Louise, and also with Roscoe and Mina. And then we're going to have a break around 8:30. And obviously, if any of you need to leave at that point and go and do anything else, that's fine. But if you want to go and stick the kettle on and grab yourself a coffee, then we're going to, in the second half, have some Q&A. And we will unmute you at that point, and you will be able to ask any questions that you have of Bruce and Lou particularly. So I hope that's okay. The other thing, just to say, we are recording this evening for those who are not able to join us tonight, for other supporters and friends. So I hope that's okay with everybody. So yeah, sit back, relax. Hopefully you can do that because you're in your own homes. And let's begin. I'm just going to pray as we begin. Father God, we thank you for this amazing technology that allows us to be united across the ocean, literally. And we thank you too for Bruce and Lou, and for their amazing friendship, and for their ministry, and also for Mina and Roscoe. Thank you for them too. And we pray that you would just give us ears to hear what you have to say to us this evening, and just to have that sense of being together in this beautiful world that you have made. So be with us, we pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Brilliant. So a good question to start with. I think, Bruce, you're going to take this one. So just give us a little brief, the emphasis on brief there, Bruce. A brief snapshot of what life is like in South Africa in lockdown.
Well, we could get really competitive about this and say ours is harder than yours. I mean, literally, we've just gone from level 5 after 5 weeks to level 4. So we've got these levels of lockdown. and other than the likes of Louise, who were considered essential workers at this time, we weren't even allowed to go out for exercise.
Wow.
So we can now do that from 6 in the morning till 9 in the morning. So there's a 3-hour window where you're allowed to go out for about an hour for a run or for a walk. So that's been a bit of a blessed relief, because we basically had to exercise at home. And we made the most of that, and we could only go out to the shops for groceries. So for me and Grace, that became the most exciting event of the week. And I have never been so slow going around the shops.
Wow.
I would go every aisle at least twice just to make sure I could stay out a bit longer and add things to the list just for the sake of it. So maybe our shopping bill actually went up. But yeah, it hasn't been easy. It's definitely been a really hard lockdown, and we've still got a lot of restrictions and a lot of limits, but we understand the reasons why.
Yeah. And am I right in thinking it's been slightly eased in the last week or so, did you say?
Yeah, so on Friday we went to level 4, and it's been nice to get out and stretch our legs and go for a run and
brilliant.
And see the outdoors properly.
Yes, fantastic. Louise, we're going to turn to you now, and we're going to think about particularly Beautiful Gate and your wider medical ministry as well. So just tell us a bit about how the lockdowns affected your ministry, and particularly your medical ministry.
This is like they're in bed, aren't they?
Hello. It's been a bit crazy, I think, would be how's it impacted. I'm still, so you it's all right. I'm basically it's continue to be essential that the children who are affected by HIV get their medication, and as you can imagine, that's been perhaps a bit more of a challenge. Our clinics are normally like a normal like health center like you'd would see in excess of 500 patients in a day. So like huge numbers of patients, and so almost overnight things changed, so that people were being screened at the gate before they come in, and so they're being, if you need to be checked because you might have some symptoms for the virus, COVID-19 virus, you sent one way, and then the others are sent the other way. And so there's been sort of some massive sort of challenges. A lot of our allied staff have not been allowed to continue. Beautiful Gate is one of the few places, the few ones, along with I think HIV and TB care and some other of the data clerks, they're still coming in, but a lot of the allied staff who support the work at the clinic aren't coming in. Some of the services aren't coming in. And so kind of like the number of staff seeing the patients is reduced.
Okay. So that puts more pressure on the staff that are left.
Yeah, so for example, instead of having 5 doctors seeing the children that on Monday, there was only me.
Wow.
And that takes a lot more preparation, a lot more preparation beforehand to see who you can just write medication for, who you can see very quickly and move on, who needs to actually have a bit more time. Trying to change some of the medication so that there's a new medicine out that's a bit stronger at controlling HIV. So we're trying to get as many people on that as possible, but that's not without challenges during this time, because nobody really knows what the effect of COVID-19 is going to be on our population of people who are affected by HIV. And what we probably do know is that those who have TB and those who have got lung damage from previous TB probably won't fare very well. And those who are not doing very well on their treatment probably won't fare very well either. But for people who are taking their treatment well, the hope is that, you know, their chances will be the same as anybody else's chances. So we're constantly trying to keep up with the new, you know, like the new information that's coming out. Very similar. I mean, I can see Ria's there, probably similar in a sense to the UK, in that, you know, like things change sometimes almost on a day-to-day basis, and there's a new directive, and there's a new this or a new that, or a new way of doing something. You know, we've been giving out masks. I asked a friend to make some masks. You're not allowed now to come into the clinic unless you've got a homemade mask. You know, we've at Beautiful Gate, we've been able to support the clinic, not only sort of physically by us, by myself still being able to go in, but we've been able to source some face shields. A guy who owns a printing business has actually made face shields, and we were able to donate him face shields, which were greatly appreciated by the clinic staff. So yeah, so just definitely feeling more pressure. So we are getting you know, they're getting positive cases, more positive cases now. I mean, our numbers compared to the UK are still low. I mean, we are also concerned about what's happening in the UK, you know, and the effect of things, our friends and family. But the number of cases is going to rise here, and I guess one of my big fears is what happens when that happens.
Living close together, and
yes. I mean, so social distancing is challenging. Quarantine, self-isolation is just impossible in some of these places. You know, so if someone's positive, you know, the virus will spread very, very rapidly. And there are not, you know, although there are a lot of good systems, you know, and they are putting lots and lots of things in place, you know, there aren't enough, you know, probably again, there aren't enough staff, and there aren't enough places, and there aren't enough, you know, ventilators and things like probably same as you're hearing, you know. And South Africa is better equipped than maybe some of the other parts of Africa.
Of course. And so, Louise, how is this, you know, I should imagine this must be taking a toll on you emotionally and spiritually as well. Is, you know, how's it affecting you in those ways?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be, I struggle with anxiety a little bit anyway. And so my anxiety levels have gone through the roof a little bit. A lot more worried. There's lots of, you know, probably you get a flavour of that from what I've just said. You know. You're also fielding, you know, so you're doing, probably again, a lot of you will be able to relate to this. You're doing a lot more over the WhatsApp is a big, you know, for people in the communities I work with, the phone and WhatsApp is a big method of communication. You know, so you're fielding a lot of calls. So you're often dealing with something in front of you, and then you've got like lots of questions and things coming at you. Mine will probably be able to confirm that as well. And so that's quite emotionally exhausting. Switching, exhausting. I'm waking up in the night. I know, all those kind of things that just show that. And yet, I'm also trying to, you know, I'm also incredibly thankful. You know, I'm incredibly thankful for the things that we do have. You know, I still get to go on a beautiful drive. You know, I don't have to go into the clinic every day, you know, so that it does allow me to pace a little bit, you know, and process.
Although I have to say that when she's not in the clinic, she's got a pile of paperwork and reports to do. So actually working all day at home, she's not out in the clinic.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Lou. And well, I want to introduce you now to one of our guests this evening, to Mina. And Mina, actually, if any of you have seen the South African version of the Blessing, it's an amazing video if you haven't seen it. And Mina's on that. So we're in the presence of a Facebook, YouTube sensation, which is pretty cool. More importantly, Mina is the CEO of Beautiful Gate. She's married to Brian, who leads a church of many nations in Cape Town. And so we're delighted, Mina, that you're able to join us this evening. So just the first question for you, Mina, if this is okay, what impact has the lockdown had on the Beautiful Gate community? We'd be really interested to hear your perspective on that, on the impact by the community, particularly that the Beautiful Gate serves. Hopefully you're unmuted, Mina, so we can hear you. Oh, I've lost her.
I think that, okay, hello everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, so you can see I'm an African, I need a response, hallelujah.
Amen.
Preach it, sister, go.
Mina, you're not on your own.
I think, amen, sister, amen. You know, I've got you, sister, I've got you. So I think it's quite an interesting thing in terms of like, it's almost like Beautiful Gate is an island within the community because of, you know, the levels of our understanding of what this coronavirus. So in a sense, maybe to separate like the community that Louise and I come from and the community of Beautiful Gate and the community that Beautiful Gate serves. I think some of the things like Louise, kind of like the challenges of the actual community, sort of like she mentioned. So I think for the Beautiful Gate community, I think the first thing that came up was like, we were in a hype of a holiday club. Everybody was excited that all the kids, so we kind of like do these holiday clubs when the school holidays happen, where most of the kids, some of them, they kind of like they hear the gospel, they bring their friends. It's almost like a buzz for the Beautiful Gate community.
A big
and
party.
On that Sunday, it's like huge party. And then on that Sunday, I remember coming from church, calling Louise. I'm like, I'm giving you heads up. You don't have come to the meeting, but some serious decisions are going to be made on Monday. And we sort of like tried to think about what does COVID look like? And I think like you have seen, you know, like there's a high TB in our communities. You know, there's HIV in our community. So the shutdown is going to be a few minutes. So few weeks, maybe a week. You know, you live in a planet where you kind of like, the Lord is going to just change everything by tomorrow. Yeah. And then you kind of like, when they're not yet of the kingdom, you realize we're still living in a sinful world. This thing is with us for a long time. So what we did was kind of like had to make this decision of who our priority kids are and families. So I don't know if like Louise have sent you some of the things that we thought about. We wanted to think, who are the kids that would need like someone to look after? They need to be fed, because that's what Beautiful Gate does. We feed and care for the kids who are, maybe the mother is drinking or they are being abused. So we have child and youth care workers who would look after those kids. So we're like, okay, the holiday club is not going to happen, but these kids are still going to be unsafe. So we sort of like, we had like red kids, which were the most vulnerable. The yellow kids, they're vulnerable, but there's a responsible adult that can be able to cook for them. And the green ones were the kids that we just needed to give them party packs, and you know, to reverse back. We needed someone like Louise to teach first our staff. So she became like a doctor, clown, engineer, because we realized that you've got 100 people working for Beautiful Gate. What a best way to teach our community, so that whatever we are teaching them, first, she taught us about what is the virus, what is it that is this virus? And the second thing she got like from the other community that she works with how to do like the soap solution, because we had to think about, first of all, not everybody's got access to water in where we work. And not everybody's got like access to sanitation. So she came up, like, I think it was 2 days, Louise, right? Where she just went through to us, what is the virus? People could ask questions, but then we could like look at different ways of how people, with the little that they have, they can be able to sanitize their hands, they can be able to understand. And then we did like some packs of teaching about Corona. So we needed our staff to understand. They go to the community, like you're almost like sending out soldiers to be able to communicate. But also that meant that you had to close the whole entire site that not only serves us as a Beautiful Gate community, but the site that serves the community in terms of printing, in terms of the other tenants that there's like pastors that work there. So we had to close that, and then sort of like now be on a mission on making sure by the time the president announces the lockdown, all our participants and families, they've got their food. So it made us, and obviously we broke so many rules of social distancing. We thank Jesus that none of us actually got sick, because we were like in a frenzy of making sure that we get the food. But I think the downside of the coronavirus is that we live in like a lot of our communities, they live in the townships, which there's no water, there's not enough social distancing. People walk to get their food. So like, for example, like you drive to Beautiful Gates, you drive through Muizenberg, you see the beach, you get, you feel like, you know, those like vampire movies, like a ghost town. There's nothing, like a lot of the suburbs, people are keeping the rules. But then you drive to the townships and then you realize that there's a lot of police, but people are not able to keep the rules because they don't have time. They don't have space to isolate. They don't have enough food to say, I'm able, because the lockdown happened before people got their social grants. So you say there's a lockdown, but then people still need to go and buy food in order for them to stay at home. So I think that has been like a sort of like the effect of Beautiful Gate, being able to be able to figure out what, I mean, we're still in a process of figuring out if this thing really happens in our townships, what is it going to look like? And then we also, what we've done, we also decided to work with some of the government across the street from us and the community, Vona, the director that I took from. So the two of us have been going to make sure that the community is also giving people the food that they should be getting, while we're also making sure that Beautiful Gate gets the food that they should be getting from our fund, from like our fundraising and stuff like that. So I think there's been like positive things that we've worked well with the community, but there's been negative things that we don't know if when the any of our staff, because some of us, like I think Louise and I, we have permits to be like to be essential service, and then you come home, you realize your mental health is not good. I feel like I've got it. I feel like I have a sore throat. I'm like, Jesus, did I get it? Am I gonna die? Or, you know? So I don't know if I'm answering. I don't know if I'm answering the question. So there's been a lot of impact that it has made at Beautiful Gate, because we also like a walk-in social work services. So also that has also been impacted in terms of like people needing the service. So, but we've got like a phone number, because I think a lot of people don't always have airtime or minutes. So we've got the please call so that they can call the social worker. Then the social worker can be able to assess whether this person needs to be referred. I think Louise was involved in the beginning. So we're thankful for Louise being working at the hospital, because there was a child that needed to be removed. So at least we could say to Dr. Louise, listen, we are bringing this child and the mother. Are you able to help? So I think Louise and the child and youth care worker and the social work from us and the social worker from DSD, they were able to help the child in that sense. So there's like elements of seeing God working in some of the areas, but the reality of being a human being is the fear of what is this going to look like, because most of our staff have been worked for almost like a month and a half, Louise, right?
Yeah.
So Sorry, I talk a lot, so
No,
let me keep
Mina,
quiet.
that is so. Honestly, I was just enjoying listening to you and just getting some real insight into the work. I mean, you've said quite a lot about what Louise does, but are there any other particular things that some of us might not know that Louise does at Beautiful Gate, that the impact that she makes and how important her role is?
I feel like she's our resident doctor. I won't say what you did. I won't say it. I promise. I'll become a Christian. I'm just gonna keep it this side.
Oh, wow! We're all intrigued now.
I think having one of the greatest things having Louise as part of Beautiful Gate. The nice thing is that first of all, she's a Christian, so it's not that when we like she does a lot of like some of our devotions. But I think beginning of this year, we sort of like realized that, you think like Africa understands what HIV is, but the stigma is still serious.
Really?
So
Okay.
one of the things that we have asked her to really like, actually she hasn't done the second job. She was supposed to do like the whole thing of people still not understanding what HIV it's all about and how people should. I mean, like she had like was it 2 days, Louise, talking to the tutors. Yeah, so it's a work in progress where we're realizing that she doesn't just work at the clinic, but also she's an asset in terms of like some of the medical issues that our staff are facing. But also like the spiritual impact in terms of like praying for people, reaching out to people in that sense. So it's like there's a medical side where she does the medical side, but also there's a spiritual side where she's able to use the medicine and being a doctor. But the other thing is also like she helps with the training for the parenting skills.
Oh yeah.
So we don't use her for that. But I think having like Christians teaching in the area that doesn't look like it's a Christian area, I feel like there's more better way of like imparting the Christian wisdom in that way, because people are not, they see, oh, it's a doctor, and then they hear how the Lord works, and she's part of our leadership. So she keeps me in line sometimes.
Fantastic, Mina. That is just so wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mina.
Really appreciate that. Now, everyone, I'm just aware of the time. I did think actually we were trying to keep things reasonably short because no people get a bit zoomed out. But I hope you don't mind if we sort of carry on for another 10 minutes before we have a break. Is that all right with everybody? Well, I'm not going to give you a choice, to be honest, but that's what. But obviously, if anyone does need to, get up and move around, then that's obviously fine. But Bruce, let's move over the focus to sports chaplaincy, and it'd be really good just to hear how the lockdown has impacted your ministry, particularly in the area of sports chaplaincy.
Well, after 4 years of sort of ploughing and preparing the ground, we'd got amazing momentum going into this year. Some of you will be aware that we've produced a little prayer booklet, and we got a series of events lined up. And Roscoe's actually showing his
brilliant,
his little panel up there. Well done, Roscoe. And we were ready to release that. God had been really, really good to us. We'd raised more money than we thought we were going to. Then the largest Christian radio station in South Africa, CCFM, got on board with us, and they wanted to be, they wanted to partner with us. So, and not only money came with that, but, increasing profile. We've got JP Duminy, who just recently retired from international cricket, on board. And it felt like the platform was set for us to not just promote this book, but more importantly, promote what we were doing with sports chaplaincy to the church and to the sports world. We'd also got some book training events coming up. Western Province Rugby had just invited sports chaplaincy to start with the professional rugby team. We'd identified some new chaplains for football clubs that had expressed interest, and it just felt like we were ready to kind of launch to the next stage. And then this happened.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, you've kind of been plowing away for 4 years, waiting for something, and suddenly like you feel like you're being swept up by all of this, and then it gets blown out of the water. At one level, I'm kind of wired. I think because of my personality, and I'm gifted. I'm wired to deal with, you know, reacting quickly to changing situations. So we immediately switched into kind of like, you know, what are the ways we can support sports people in this period? And it was probably 3 or 4 weeks into the lockdown when I started to grieve what had happened.
Yes.
Because I hadn't really had time to process it. And yeah, I know God's sovereign, and I know He's Lord, and we'll be able to do some of these things, and you know, at a later period. But I've got, you know, 8,000 copies of this book in a lying around the place, and every time I look at them, they mock me and go to the box. But
And I keep tripping over
and she
them.
keeps tripping over them. So. But yeah, there's opportunities to do new things, and you know, we've set up some digital communities. Maybe Roscoe might be able to say a little bit about how that's impacted him when you get to speak to him in a few minutes. But yeah, we're learning some new things, and it's giving us the opportunity to serve sports people in different ways. We've been able to make some really good connections with some high-profile coaches in the world of football who previously we've not related to, and we've been able to support them emotionally and spiritually and create community for them. So that's been really significant. We've been able to throw a couple of our new chaplains into, you know, they've been e-facilitators or e-chaplains in some of the digital communities we set up, and, you know, that's gone really, really well. So there's been positive things that have emerged, but of course there's still that sense of disappointment that we weren't able to do that we planned on doing. But, you know, we'll get the other side of this, and at some point, you know, and our ministry might look a bit different, and there might be some new ways we've discovered of serving sports people that we hadn't imagined before. So.
Absolutely. So just picking up a little bit about you mentioned about there sort of being sort of delayed grief and sort of dealing with the disappointment. You know, what other emotional impact has there been, and also maybe some of the things you're learning about relying on God and trusting God and other sort of spiritual lessons?
Well,
maybe.
Or most people on here who will know me will know that I'm an off the scale, maximum point extrovert, whatever personality survey you do. Yeah, I was really born for lockdown, right? It's had its challenges. I would, yeah, there are days. It's been a roller coaster, and there have been days where it's felt like going through treacle and going through mud.
Yeah.
Been a bit of a mental fog at times. So at the beginning, I thought, you know, I'd be able to maybe do a bit more reading, but actually everything I do takes longer, generally speaking. And so I have to be honest and say, you know, I have very good days, but it's been a struggle. It has been. I need to be in the room with people, and that's where I'm at my best. That's good for me. I don't know whether it's good for other people, but
I was going to say, yeah, it's good for you, yeah. But
not that I don't need quiet, not that I don't need solitude, but it's, you know, maybe lockdowns too much of that.
Yeah,
so,
brilliant. Yeah,
it's been challenging, but I think, you know, I'm also aware that God's revealing things about me that He still wants to heal, He still wants to fix.
Yeah.
And in the busyness of ministry and the busyness of being out there, some of those things go unchecked.
Yeah. Sure.
Who am I really building my life on? Am I really looking to Jesus? Is he really the one who is who I seek satisfaction from? And I can teach those things. I can know them mind and maybe in my heart, but do I really know it in my soul? You know, in my gut? And I think, you know, this is revealed to me once again that, you know, sometimes I seek my identity in what I do rather than who he is and who he says.
Yeah. Bruce, thank you so much. I mean, thank you for being really honest about that, because I think, you know, maybe there'll be several of us who can identify with some of those things. And that actually, that, you know, that one of the things you said about how everything just takes longer.
Yeah.
You know, I've certainly found that. Nod your heads, everyone. I think we've all just found everything takes us longer, you know, and you think, well, I should be able to do this. Because I used to be able to do it in the real world, and now I've got to somehow do it in the virtual world or in this strange place that we find ourselves in. Yeah, thank you so much. So just remind everybody, we are going to have a chance for some Q&A, and we're also going to have a chance to pray as well. So that'll be really good to bear some of those things in mind. So I'm really delighted to be able to introduce Roscoe to you. Roscoe Peterson, he's been a professional footballer for over 10 years, winning the South League Cup and with Supersport United, gaining international recognition whilst at Ajax Cape Town. And I believe you're a defender, is that right, Roscoe? Currently playing for Cape Amoya. Amoya, that's how you pronounce it, cool. Club based in Cape Town. And you're married to Lisa.
That's correct.
Yeah, and you have a daughter who's 21 months old. Oh my goodness. That
must know a lot about me.
And you signed to Ajax Cape Town in 2016. I think that's where you got to know Bruce.
That's correct.
So yeah, tell us, Roscoe, a little bit about the sort of impact and the role that Bruce played in your life, you know, when you were at Ajax.
Oh, where do I start? I think the first day I saw Bruce, it was like, you know, like when you step into a room, or we had a cafeteria at Ajax, and you would always, you know, obviously with Bruce's stature and his posture, is quite a big guy. We all know big home smile. So for some of us, or for myself, I would say, like, he would kind of not make it awkward, but he would look actually for the awkward guys in the room. And those are the ones that he would step up to. So I guess I was one of those guys. And ever since then, yeah, the role that he played in my life, or he's still playing in my life, is huge. I met Bruce obviously when I signed for Ajax Cape Town. And, you know, just under his mentorship, there was a thing called Born to Play that the club had. And it was kind of Bruce led that group for us, and under his mentorship, you know, I got invited to come there, and it was just, I was at first very awkward, like I wasn't really, I wouldn't really just share or would want to step into a group like that to be vulnerable, if I can put it to you that way. So I got invited to the group by Bruce and some of my teammates, and I think it was probably one of the best decisions I made in my football career and in my life. I always had a belief in God, you know. I knew God was, but I felt that I haven't really surrendered my life to Jesus. And I can honestly say I'm thankful to Bruce for that, because obviously having that Born to Play group on a weekly basis obviously helps us as footballers also to realize that we are also just normal human beings, you know, that we also go through anxiety and things like that. So under Bruce's mentorship, it has helped me a lot on the field and off the field. Because on the field, Bruce can vouch for me, I'm probably one of the most temperamental players. The funny thing is that around the dressing room, we had this one, we always like to have banter with each other, like you and Bruce like that. So we would post up pictures of footballers or people that we would look like. So on my locker, there was a picture of Vinnie Jones. So I don't know how, I'm not too sure how that worked out, but
you're much better looking.
No, thank you. So yeah, I was a very temperamental footballer, but obviously surrendering my life to Jesus and under Bruce's mentorship, I've obviously come to know that there's actually more to actually football. I think I kind of had a moment in my life where I put football, I idolized football a bit, if I can be honest with you guys. And under Bruce's mentorship, I've come to realize that if I put God first, that things will fall into place, like regardless of the challenges that you go through. I mean, embracing challenges is where we give opportunity for God to enter our lives. And in those 2 seasons that I spent at Ajax, having surrendered to Jesus, I can also say that those 2 seasons there, I actually got the national team call-up. So one of my dreams was to play for the national team. And under Bruce's mentorship and the Born to Play group, I've obviously achieved that, and it's something that I'm very proud of. Also, at my time at Ajax, you mentioned my wife Lisa. I proposed to her. We got married, and Bruce, being Bruce, I told Bruce about it, that look, I proposed to Lisa, we're going to get married, and Bruce was like, "Oh wow, do you have ever heard of marriage preparation?" And I was like, "Marriage preparation?" I wasn't too sure about it. And then obviously I went to my wife, we spoke about it, and we're like, "Yeah, good shot, let's go ahead." And obviously being with Lou and going to Bruce's house on a weekly basis, going through the marriage preparation has been the perfect stepping stone into marriage. I mean, it helped us so much before going into marriage. So when things does come up these days in our marriage, we have the tools. We are equipped with the tools that Bruce and Lou obviously mentored us into. And from there, I think if I asked Bruce if he'll do our wedding ceremony, I think it would have been fit. And it was the perfect fit to have Bruce and Lou there, and Bruce to wed my beautiful wife and I. So that was that's my interaction with Bruce so far in my life.
Roscoe, thank you so much. And just tell us a little bit about what's life as a pro footballer like now in lockdown. What's it look like?
The uncertainty. I think that's the main thing. The uncertainty of when are we going to play again? Is the league going to resume? Because our league is also postponed. So just the uncertainty of competition. Something we thrive on, obviously being professional athletes. What we'll enjoy. So we're highly competitive. So now we don't have that adrenaline feed, if I can put it to you, that in competitive sport. Obviously, like I said, the uncertainty, there's things with salaries and contracts and things like that. That's also part of the whole uncertainty thing. And obviously we have to be on our own. So going through your exercise drills in isolation is not the easiest thing to do. Because obviously, in a team sport, you kind of feed off each other. So if the one's not having a good day, you feed off the other one's energies. But having to train in isolation is quite difficult. But on the upside for me, it's obviously giving me more time to self-reflect. Besides being a footballer, I'm also a God-fearing man. So it gives me time to reflect on myself and where I am in my life right now. And obviously, appreciating the downtime, if I can put it to you that way. Especially my wife and my daughter. So there's been downsides, but there's also been upsides, and I think I'm thankful to say that there's more upsides than downsides. We are professional footballers, but we are also human beings.
I just say, Ross, it's amazing to hear Roscoe saying there's been more upsides than downsides, because what he hasn't told you, and he probably won't want to make a big thing out of this, but the club he plays for, without any consultation, has cut their wages in half. And they're not that highly paid at the club he's playing for. So without consultation, the players' union have got involved. But to hear him say, there's been more upsides and downsides when he's, the paycheck's half of what it was,
Yeah, yeah.
A month ago. I think it's still a testament to really how far Roscoe's journeyed in the last few years. Mr. Angry might have been toying outside the boss's.
Probably.
Yeah. And so just a final question, Roscoe. How has Bruce alluded to it earlier, how sports chaplaincy sort of helped you through this season, through this particular COVID-19 season?
No, it's been great. Obviously we've gone now to a digital community, so we have all been put into different groups, so there are different leaders that leads different groups. We try and obviously keep the numbers a bit small so that we can obviously stay more connected. It's a platform for us to stay more connected with other Jesus followers as well, and also for sports people. I mean, like Bruce has touched on it, I wasn't going to share it, but yeah, like things that clubs can do during this time, this unprecedented time, is also things that you would probably look at it completely wrong and unlawful. But I mean, they go ahead of these things, and I think having the digital community has obviously helped me and helped other footballers get through this time, because I mean, we're spending time with other Jesus followers. We're full of encouragement. You look forward to your sessions. Our group, we join 3 times a week. So you're kind of like, in the space of that week, when you're done Monday, you can't wait for Wednesday. Tuesday comes, you're sitting, you're missing the guys. You want to engage. You want to feed off other Jesus followers and things like that. So the encouragement out of that platform and that group has been amazing. Also, obviously, just helps you keep your spirits up there. And yeah, we have a great leader in Jerome. He was also a former footballer. So on that side of the sports championship, you can see that it's growing. And for me, it's encouraging to see like younger guys like Jerome getting involved, because he himself was a former footballer, and I think he surrendered his life to Jesus, and he also had dreams of being a professional footballer, and he was at one stage, but unfortunately that wasn't his plan. And you can see the hunger he has now, that he obviously still wants to have an impact in football, and now he's come in a different form to still have a huge impact on us footballers, and that's just great to see. He's full of hunger, he's excited about everything, and like I say, this digital platform has been really amazing and a great encouragement to us professional footballers, especially in this time of isolation. I mean, during that group, you don't feel isolated. I mean,
isn't that wonderful?
So that digital platform has really helped us leaps and bounds.
Wow. Roscoe, that has been so wonderful. Thank you. And so what we're going to do now, everyone, so yes, let's give Roscoe and Mina a round of applause. That's fantastic. Thank you. So honest and so real. And as you said, you're not just a footballer, you're a human being, cool. Brilliant. So what we're going to do now, folks, is we're going to take let's take a 5-minute break. Is that okay? 5 minutes. So back at 5 to 8. Obviously, if you need to go off and do other things, then please do. What we're going to do after the break is we're going to hear a little bit about, briefly about Capricorn and what's happening on Capricorn in the church and in the community. And then we'll have a chance for some Q&A and some prayers. Okay. So thanks, everybody. Just stay on the call, but obviously switch, just